So, one of the things right here, how many of y'all by raise of hands wonder why we get sick? You ever thought about it? Why do people die from cancer? Why do people get sick with a lot of different things? We're going to talk about it tonight. If you don't know, I'm Dr. John Artis. See my name right here. I introduce you to the newest team member, Ashley Smith. Just waved her in the back here. One of the things I wanted to show right here tonight is I was running and I was listening to an audio book and I got this message and it's like, man, why do I have a salt in a light bulb, right? And if you know anything about the Bible, I think it's out of Matthew, is Jesus said, let there be salt. Salt makes stuff taste better. And light makes things brighter. And so what I want to do today is I want to give you, to make this information actually enlighten you to actually feel better in your lives, but also to lighten the lives in the dark areas that we don't pay attention to. Because we're all dying from something called inflammation. And it's a low grade or slow inflammation that's actually going through our bodies here. And so if you remember that right here, the light and the salt, we got to brighten our lives. We got to brighten up everything around us and we got to make ourselves better. And that's one of the things that I strive to do every day, is to be the light in the room and actually make people feel better around me that come in. And that's why a lot of people come in. But look at this right here. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk about inflammation. And inflammation is one of the things that I've always spoken about. And it's one of the silent killers that is the precursor to a lot of other diseases. And it actually causes a lot of disease. We're talking about cancer, IBS, ulcerative colitis, arthritis, different forms of arthritis. We're going to talk about that tonight. A lot of us that are suffering from, and some of you might not even know that you're suffering, but by the time we finish this, you'll have a clear understanding of that. Is that okay? All right, so as we jump in right here, one of the things we got this right here, the father of modern yoga, he says, the body is the temple, keep it clean, for that's where the soul is to reside in. And that's very deep for me, because I started thinking about that, is that we've been called to do a lot of stuff. And I see a lot of people that's been called to do a lot of stuff and they can't physically do it anymore because their bodies are breaking down. And one of the reasons why their body's breaking down is chronic inflammation. And so if we look at this right here, what is inflammation? Anybody ever take a guess without reading that real quick? Inflammation is actually a natural process that the body happens. And so we're going to talk about the two different types. So the natural way of protecting the body from inflammation is when you actually get hurt or you get an infection or you get some kind of injury or illness, white blood cells are sent out and the immune system's called cytokines that go there and they protect the area. So cytokines are like flaggers or markers that actually cause that shift to happen in the body. And when that does, it causes a lot of other things to happen. Two different types of inflammation. Number one type of inflammation that is actually good for us is acute. And that's actually designed to help our bodies to actually protect itself. And so when you talk about acute, this is where you get the redness or the heat or the swelling. Say for example, if you fall and you hit your knee, or if you just hit your elbow against the wall or something like that, it's going to turn red, it's going to start swelling. That's an acute thing that's going to happen. And when that happens, that actually causes a good thing. But it's only supposed to be short term and temporary. So cytokines are released. These are the markers from the damaged tissue. So if I hit my elbow, it's going to send these signals out to the brain to actually send other stuff down there. It's going to increase the blood flow to the area. Blood vessels are going to dilate. More blood flow is going to come, and white blood cells are going to go around the area to promote healing. Did you follow me? Very simple process with acute inflammation. Now, what's the second type of inflammation? Chronic. You got it. This is the one right here that's called, some people, you start to become weather forecasters. This is other things right here. Now, this is, a lot of times, this is unnoticeable in a lot of different people. And we're going to talk about what can actually make that noticeable in a little bit here. But what it can do is it drives the diabetes, heart disease, fatty liver disease, which is on the rise, and also different types of cancers. This is a long-term, low-grade, low level of inflammation that floats in the body. So what happens is when you have white blood cells that are sent out in the body and they have nowhere to go and they have nothing to do, they're going to start attacking your organs. So this is a low grade of stuff. This is like mild symptoms you might have if you eat something and you feel bloated, or if you do different things, or if you work, or you might feel a little stiff here. And sometimes you might not feel anything at all. And it's slowly attacking these organs over the course of years. And when it does that, the body begins to start to break down. You start developing these symptoms or these diseases that you never even thought you would ever get. Some people get lupus. Some people get a lot of other things. Some people get rheumatoid arthritis. Some people get cancer. Some people have heart attacks and strokes. And all these things all come from different kinds of inflammation. Now, there are other causes too. So what causes it, when we look into it to get a little deeper. Now, what can cause inflammation and these different things happen is mainly lifestyle choices. What's the one lifestyle choices you think can cause inflammation? The bad inflammation, huh?
Being sedentary.
Being sedentary is good. That's a good one. What's another one? Eating the wrong foods. That's a really, really big one. That's a big one. You know, I hope y'all weren't sitting in line for that Popeye sandwich. It came out. That's definitely one that can cause it, right? And different things. So consuming high amounts of sugar and high fructose corn syrup. Sugar feeds inflammation. And what happens is it destroys the gut lining. And our last workshop we talked about was leaky gut. And we're going to dig into that a little bit more because that's where your majority of your immune system comes from. And that's what causes and produces inflammation is the immune system. Refined carbs from like bread. White bread is an example from that. You know, someone had bought me a burger from the grill. It's supposed to be a healthy burger, but they bought a bun. And I just ate the burger. I didn't eat the bun because that refined white bread or refined carbs is actually going to spike my blood sugar. And that can actually help destroy the gut lining. And then one of the things that it has in it too that I didn't put in the bottom of this right here is gluten. Gluten, and I talk about that a lot, is we all need to, if you need to do something right now, you need to stop gluten. Gluten causes inflammation. It's an anti-inflammatory. And it's not the same as the way it used to be processed when we were growing up. 40, 50, 60, some of y'all 70 years ago, you know, it's different. Now it's all about homogenization. It's about growing a higher yield, so they're actually doing it faster so your body can't break it down. It automatically increases inflammation in your body. So if one thing that you can stop is gluten. The other thing, and that usually get from white breads and different kinds of fiber that the body can't break down, processed foods and processed fats. So these are like your trans stuff. This is like your sausage, your bacon, anything processed that's not from its original source. Now, if you take a piece of chicken, it's a little different. You know, I'm not all 100% that we all should be vegetarians yet. You know, that is a way that we're going towards more plant-based because of the way the animals are taken care of and they're not fed properly. But you do need certain types of meat, I still believe. And I've seen people that try to become vegetarians and cut out meat, and then they suffer from some different kinds of vitamin deficiencies. Vitamin deficiencies like vitamin B that mimic MS. And so you can get a misdiagnosis and get diagnosed with multiple sclerosis and where you were vitamin deficiency. And when you get vitamin deficiencies for so long, it can turn permanent. So you got to know what you're doing. That's why you got to have a professional to actually help walk you through the process. And so also too, vegetable oils are bad. I mean, this is the different things. I was just visiting my family down south, and I remember going to my grandmother's house, who's passed, but my aunt has since been living there. And they, you know, she used to have this big old can of Crisco. And it was white, and she used to cook the best fried chicken out of that stuff. But it's like literally like plastic, liquid plastic. It clogs the arteries. And that's why a lot of people are dying from strokes and a lot of these different things. So you got excessive alcohol. Drinking too much alcohol destroys and causes inflammation. Low physical activity, poor biomechanics, misalignment, subluxation, and joint dysfunction. And we'll get all into that in a second. So kind of hold your questions for a little bit. And so we're going right here is gut health is the number one reason. When I talk about this and I put the workshop out, we have two brains. We have a brain right here, and we also have a brain right here. Gut function, this brain right here is called a second brain. And with this brain right here is called the microbiome. Everybody say that with me, microbiome. 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 That right there is one of the most complex systems in the body that regulates what goes in and out of your body. And if that is out of whack, you're going to suffer from chronic inflammation and you're going to have a lot of different problems. So why focus on the gut? The gut produces majority of the neurotransmitters, and it houses 2/3 of the immune system. So we say 70 to 80% of your immune system starts right in the gut. It's not from anywhere else, it's in that gut. And so also the gut has metabolic activity that's greater than the liver, so you're constantly breaking down stuff all the time. That's actually at a higher rate than the liver. The other thing is too, most effective clinical outcomes across disease spectrums can normalize with gut function. And when you restore that gut function back. So you're talking about people being able to heal themselves from cancers, from all kinds of different heart diseases if they get the gut right. Autoimmune diseases. I've seen it happen. And so the information I'm passing on you tonight, we're going to help you to take a step forward so that you can actually recognize certain signs and you can make the changes necessary so that you can live the life that you've been called to live. Okay? And so look at these different things right here. When we talk about the gut, think about it as crossing the border. Now, I've been in situations like this, just going from Belize to Mexico to Sam's Club. down to, from Belize City to Chet Mall, and you go through a border crossing like this. So what they do is they filter who can go in and out of the country, right? And so when they go filter who can go in and out of the country, you got to have your passport, got to have all your proper documents in order. If not, they won't let you through. This is the same way the gut works. And I thought about this after we did the leaky gut. This is a good way to describe it. It's just like crossing the border. And so if you don't have the proper paperwork or documentation, you can't get through to the other side. Now, what happens with leaky gut is, imagine if all the border control people that work in those things just all went on strike and they just started opening up certain things. So what's the name didn't come back from break, or he's on vacation, they didn't put nobody there, and cars are just driving through. So now you're letting all this crazy stuff come through, people that shouldn't be documented coming through, and now it's causing havoc on the other side that was a peaceful country. That's what's happening with the gut when we look at leaky gut. That's a good explanation or what? I thought that was pretty good. That's deep, man. God speaks to me in this running thing, man, I'm telling you. So what happens when we talk about leaky gut, this is what is the big deal. When we talk about normal tight junctions here, and these tight junctions block that stuff and they regulate stuff that can come in and out of the bloodstream. When we destroy the tight junctions due to trans fats, refined sugars, all those different things, high fructose corn syrup, eating non-GMO foods with all these glyphosate, pesticides, herbicides on it to destroy that gut lining, you got bacterial particles that can go into the bloodstream. And when they go into the bloodstream, now the body starts to attack itself because it sees this foreign stuff and it doesn't know where to really attack. So it goes throughout the bloodstream. And when it goes throughout the bloodstream, people start hurting in places that never thought they were hurt before. So that's one of the biggest deals that we got to look at when we look at these things. And then people can develop allergies. Now, there's no, but I was talking to a teacher, 5th grade. I never, growing up in my school, we never had a peanut-free table. Now you got like a peanut-free table. You got more kids developing this stuff. And they're showing a graph that shows from 1954 to 2017. I mean, the graph went up like this with the increase in intestinal permeability or leaky gut with allergies, autoimmune diseases. You got more people getting autoimmune diseases than ever before. And it's simple from this simple process right here. And this is the process of what I'm talking about. As I study and become more deeper involved in this functional medicine process, you can actually see how that works. So when you look at this right here, there's a role in how we can do it. So spinal alignment is number one. I'm a chiropractor by trade, and one of the things that I do believe in is spinal alignment. And when you're looking at spinal alignment, if you want to reduce inflammation, you have to be properly aligned. And so looking at this right here, how does misalignment cause that? It's actual wear and tear on your body. So if I'm walking around and my shoulders are like this and my one hip is like this, or some of you might have had a knee replacement and the leg is way off, it's a big difference. You got other things that can cause it too, is when you got muscle weakness that can cause joint instability. One of the first things that I do when we do an exam is people come about knee pain, and then when I check their knee is so wobbly because it's unstable. That's going to cause that joint to wear down. It's the same thing that happens with all of the joints inside your spine. And when that happens to that point, you're going to wear those joints down. You're going to cause arthritis to form, and that's inflammation of the joint, if you break it down. Arthur, joint, itis, inflammation, okay? And always equate inflammation with pain. When we look at these different things right here, this is a classic example of a knee. You got the femur, you got the patella right here with the round thing, you got the tibia, and then you got the fibula. Now in between that, you have a meniscus. Everybody got knees, and some of y'all got some new ones, some 2017 models and all these different things, right? So then you got ACLs and PCLs and MCLs, and so this is the medial and lateral and medial meniscus. They're like two cushions that sit right here. As we go, they start to get tears in them. And that speeds that process up, and that causes inflammation. So now we get synovial fluid around, the knees start to swell. And when the knees start to swell, it causes joint erosion. So those white blood cells that are floating around, they have nowhere to go. They start attacking those joints. That's what the inflammation does. That's why one of the first things that I say when your joints are swollen, what should you do? Anybody's been a patient for a long time. What? Ice. Ice, baby. That's why we got to really ice. You want to get that swelling off of that joint so you can speed the healing process up. If $1 million athletes do it, why can't we do it? But the first thing we think of, old school, they put some heat on it. They put a heat pack on it, right? And what that does is that increases blood flow to the area that's already got increased blood flow to the area, and it makes white blood cells sit around, and it causes that to eat away at the joint. And this is long-term wise. Short-term is okay. You're talking 1 to 2 weeks, that's acute. When you talk after 3 to 4 to 12 to 5 years, that's chronic. And that's what'll destroy that joint. Whether it's your shoulder, whether it's your neck, your back, your knee, your elbow, your wrist, all the joints in your body all work the same. They just are different bones and they're connected differently. So this right here is the different types of inflammatory disorders caused by that. Joint pain, you got discomfort that may be caused by many factors. That looks painful. Eroded bone, cartilage, that's where you can feel the grinding when you move. Then you got right here bursitis. That's inflammation of the bursa around the joint. Arthritis, osteoarthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, and we got gouty arthritis. Some of y'all, they got the rich man's disease, that gout. You start eating them steaks, that big toe swells up, you can't even move. Or that knee, man, you can't even put the sheet on that thing. It's got to just stand up there. If anything touches it, it turns so bright red, that gouty arthritis, those are purines of that uric acid that go and they attack that joint and they'll eat away at that joint. It's very, very nasty and painful. That's why my suggestion is to limit red meat, if you do eat red meat, to only twice a week. Twice a week. So the people that started getting it were rich white men that ate a lot of steaks back in the day, and that's how they called it the rich man's disease, gouty arthritis. And so when we could only eat rice and beans and stuff like that, we were a lot healthier. We got the fiber. Now we just got to add some more vegetables in there and different things like that. So get a good picture of that. Now the benefits of chiropractic adjustments and what we do when we talk about spinal alignment, we correct that poor biomechanics and that misalignment. That's why we have the correction of the month. So we're talking about before and after. When that spine is completely straight and you're looking at people and they're like this, that's not actually a good look, right? So when you want somebody, you want to be as straight as you can. That shows strength in the spine. That shows spinal integrity. That means that your body can support itself. If you're walking around like this, and if I was doing this presentation and, I would literally have to use my body as a testimony. This is what not to do. But since I value my temple, this is where my soul resides, I try to make sure that I take very good care of it and I understand the proper alignment. So everything that I ask you to do, I do. Dr. Payne does. I'm a big person that we actually practice what we preach. And so when you look at these different things right here, if your spine is walking around like that, you're going to wear it down 10 times faster than you normally would. It's just like if you got brand new tires. If you went to Discount Tire today and you got a new set of tires, right? And your car is out of alignment. And say they're 50,000 mile tires. You're supposed to get 50,000 miles out of those tires before you have to replace them. You will not get 50,000 miles out of that car, those tires, if the wheels are not aligned. It's the same thing with your body. And I believe that we're supposed to be here at least, I'm knocking 110. If I can get 110 out of this body, that's why I'm trying to proper alignment, structure, function. That's what we can do. I think you can do it. You got people that are still doing it. And there's something that they're doing that's a little bit different. But we got to pay attention to those different things. Now, the role of exercise. How many of y'all ran 3 miles this morning? Right? I'm not saying you have to run 3 miles. Studies say that just as little as 20 minutes exercise a day is just as effective in reducing inflammation than going in there working out for 20 hours. Like it's better to run a 5K, in my opinion, as a professional, than to do a marathon. A marathon is going to actually cause more inflammation. Joints are going to swell because it's long-term chronic trauma. Your body has to recuperate from that unless you prepare your body for that. And these ultra athletes. So it's better like 20 minutes of simple walking and we go through that. Now what happens with this right here, how exercise does it, is it releases a small protein called interleukin 6. These are certain things, the markers that we can actually measure in your blood work. Okay? And this interleukin 6, what it does is it actually reduces the inflammation. It lowers the T-alpha, the cells that actually kill cells. These are different proteins that go in and they kill cancerous cells. But if you got high levels of inflammation, it actually makes it worse. And then the other thing is it inhibits interleukin beta, which damages cells of the pancreas that produce insulin, which is a big one. So that's how you got people that can turn diabetic. And so if your pancreas can't produce enough insulin to actually keep the blood sugar level down, your blood sugar level is going to be high. So then when you go to the doctor and you get a checkup, he says, hey, what's your A1C? It's 12. What? Like, that's not a good thing. That's not a good look. And it's basically, so when you look at these different things right here, it also increases interleukin 15, and that helps regulate abdominal fat. So a lot of us too, we work out, we do different things, but we have trouble losing this pouch. And there's different things that can cause it. It could be hormonal, it could be these different things right here. One of the things that I found is that if you don't stimulate that interleukin 15 with a proper balanced things of what I'm saying, actually you're not going to be able to burn that belly fat. And then for a lot of women and sometimes men, it could be hormonal levels could be changing due to age or stress and all these other factors. Does it make sense to follow me? I mean, we're going to have to enlighten y'all a little bit. Everybody looking down with these things. So the benefits of exercise is lowering cardiovascular disease, improving metabolism, weight control, strengthening the heart, which is a muscle. Do you know if you don't work that heart, that it's going to get weaker? That's why it's good for people to walk. That's why you walk and you exercise is going to lower your blood pressure. It's going to actually help your heart to be stronger, to be able to push the blood out. Also, muscles and bones. Muscles need to be strong to support the body, and bones need to be strong to actually protect our body and give us our structure, right? One of the biggest things that I encourage everybody to do, number one with that, is you got to make sure you're lifting weights, and I'll talk about that in a little bit too. It lowers blood pressure, reduces the risk of diabetes and some forms of cancer. Now, exercise and how we do it, walking to jogging. You don't have to go and be a jogger and run a marathon. You know, I'm into this running thing now, and that's like my new thing. And then I'm gonna get into biking to kind of save the knees because I want to last to 110. So one of the things that is I want to make sure that I can continue to walk. So I'll go for 6-7 mile walks, and that's one of the best forms of meditation. It's almost spiritual for me. So that's one of the ways that I had a guy come in, 42. He's suffering from anxiety today, and so one of my recommendations is, go for a 4-mile walk. And then we say, well, I don't have time. Well, you're going to have time to be sitting in the hospital or sitting in the doctor's office if you don't. That's one of the things that can happen. So weightlifting is one of my favorite things. You're designed to do stuff to actually increase bone density. Every woman in here should lift a weight. And the reason why is because it's going to help increase bone density. It's going to actually make your bones stronger. A woman past a certain age, if she falls and breaks a hip, it's a downward spiral from that point. And that's one of the things that we do. That's why we have people walking up and down the hallway, strengthen those muscles. God has given me the gift to be able to do orthopedic tests to see what muscles are weak and what muscles we need to strengthen. And that's how we can actually have a balanced joint, and we don't take much pressure on the joint. Anything from physical activity, from swimming and other things, even from shooting around basketball. You don't have to go and try to be Michael Jordan and jump, but you can pick a basketball up and try to shoot it and stuff like that. There's all different kinds of things. Swimming is one of my favorite things. It's just getting in the pool, walking. You don't have to swim. You don't have to lay flat. You can get in the pool and walk up and down the lap. Walk backwards. Walk side to side. If you don't know, email me, call me, text, say, Doc, what can I do in the pool? I can come up with a whole bunch of stuff for you. But it's one of the best forms of exercise because that's when you're in a weightless environment. And people that suffer from chronic arthritis, that's one of the best things you can do. And women too. You might spend a lot of money getting your hair. You don't have to get your hair wet. You can just get in the water. Most pools now are 4 feet, 3 feet. You can get it right here in the waist. All you need is a little resistance in there. And so those different things. So I know a lot of people, some people don't know how to swim. And that's something that you should set a goal to learn how to swim. Get in the pool. Figure it out. So that's one of the things that we got to constantly keep growing. Now, the role of diet. This is one of the most important ones. We're talking about that gut. Diet is everything. And so if you don't believe diet is everything, if you eat a bad diet, it's going to cost you time, it's going to cost you money, it's going to cost you experiences, and it's going to cost you your energy. You eat bad food, your sugar level is going to increase or dip, you're going to feel sluggish. If you eat bad food, when you eat certain foods, your mental clarity might not be there. So that's going to cost you an experience that you could be present in the moment. Then if you eat bad food, you might feel sick, so you have to go spend some money to actually try to feel better. So it's a lot of different things, and you can see those different things right here. And then what you're doing is you're usually feeding those cradle feeds. So what I recommend is a diet of whole foods. Whole foods, not the store, the diet. The diet is to eat foods from the original source. So we're not eating a grape apple, we're eating a real apple. We're eating watermelon with seeds in it. You're eating stuff that's really real food. You're eating you're not eating processed hot dogs and sausages and stuff like that they put through. And by the way, one of my first jobs out of college was Tyson Foods in Richmond, Virginia. I would never eat a hot dog when I get that vision in my mind on how it's made. If you saw how it's made, you wouldn't eat a hot dog. But all that stuff that we go through and the processed stuff that's left over and how they actually feed the chemicals in those stuff, it's really disgusting. And it's an American treat. You go to football games and all these different things, but look at the people in there. They all on high blood pressure medicine. They all on all these different things. They all got problems they're complaining about. I'm really at the point now, I'm 43 years old, and I'm into really feeling good. And when I eat a certain way, I feel good. And it's to the point where I don't want to feel bad, so I don't want to eat that way. And not saying that I don't ever slip and have some ice cream or something like that, but if I do, it's a little bit. And then I'm starting to really trying to wing myself all that. So nobody's perfect, don't get me wrong. And one of my favorites, banana pudding. So people bring me stuff all the time. Doc, here, get this and all this stuff. So I just take a little bit and I kind of keep it moving. But anti-inflammatory foods is another one. Reduces inflammatory markers like CRPs and interleukin-6. CRPs, when you get blood work, you get a complete blood panel. You want to look at that stuff. What's their CRP levels? What's the interleukins? That's a very detailed blood work process that you can look at. And that's something that I look at as a functional medicine practitioner when we look at your blood work. So if we look at that, I'm going to automatically put you on an anti-inflammatory diet, and we're going to start an anti-inflammatory protocol to reduce the inflammation. The golden standard for reducing inflammation as far as diets out there is called elimination diet. If you go to any functional medicine practitioner, that's one of the things that I do. The first thing that I put people on, some people I put it on for 3 to 6 weeks. Some people, they go 6 months. Some people I've had a year. You know, my son, he's going on it continuing a year now. And those different things right here, and we can see a big difference. Big difference. So now with one person in the household to support your family, you start making those changes, and that's how we started getting into it a lot heavier. So antioxidant rich foods. What's an antioxidant, by the way? Blueberries. That's it. But what does it do? It binds the free radicals. And what free radicals do is they destroy the body. You ever ate you bit an apple and you set it out and it started turning brown? Those are free radicals. That happens in your cells inside your body. So if you don't feed them stuff that's actually going to break that process up, they'll start dividing. So as soon as your body makes new cells, they start age. That's how you age faster. Yeah, that's how you age faster. So you ever go to your class reunion? Don't get me started, right? You said, man, we graduated together, we the same age. You look 90 and I'm 60, right? That's not good. Well, I'm 40, you look 60. So the other things too is you got the ketogenic Mediterranean diet and other vegetarian diets. These are also good. The reason why a lot of people, the Mediterranean diet is also one of the golden standards because they eat very well. They eat good food, but they actually don't have the rates of heart disease that we have here in America. Like I've had friends that went to Italy. I got a patient that's going to Italy next week. And you can eat the bread over there because the European government holds higher standards on food than we do in the United States. You know, they made fresh pizza and felt great, and the cheese is even different. So there's different things. But here, it's not even the same. And so when we look at these things right here, they're good for obesity and they're good for metabolic syndrome. Anybody from the last workshop remember what metabolic syndrome is? Metabolic syndrome, if you got 3 out of the 5 indicators. Number 1 is you got elevated blood sugar level higher than 100, fasting blood sugar level. Second one is you got a blood pressure higher than 120/80, or your hypertension. High cholesterol, you know, the bad cholesterol is high, or the low cholesterol is too low. And then the other thing too is where you actually have a waist section for men over 40 and women over 36. 3 of those 5 things is not if you're gonna have a heart problem, is when. And that's what we call metabolic syndrome. And that's what we don't want anybody to have that right there. So going through these right here, these are foods you should avoid. Sugary beverages. There's a nice glass of orange juice up there too. Looks like a pop, or that could be iced tea. You know, I'm from down south. They serve you tea before they serve you water. And so I had to say, could you please bring me some water? I went down south the last weekend in August, and you know, it's like sweet tea, boom. No, can you bring me some water? I don't drink, and I don't like tea. I'm from the South. I don't like sweet tea. I never did as a kid. They thought I was weird, but that's why I said I was moving. The other thing we got right here is you got refined carbs. These are the breads, desserts, the danishes, you know, donuts, you know, Chicago favorite, old fashioned, 111th Street, man. That's some dangerous stuff, man. Dangerous. I had to stay away from that stuff. Then you got also processed foods and snacks. You know, stopping at the gas station, you traveling, M&Ms, the candy bars, all those different things. And then you got certain oils. These are the oils, the trans fats, excessive alcohol. And the last one I put up here is gluten. You want to avoid gluten. If you stop anything today with food, gluten. Gluten-free bread. And it's not all gluten-free bread is made equal. Some of it's nasty. But you have to find the ones that you like. And most of it is frozen, where you have to put it in the toaster, you have to freeze it, and those different things right here. But it is available. I was at Costco yesterday, and I found a nice one, gluten-free, and it's organic. So you can find it. It's in different places. And now you go to most restaurants, you order from a gluten-free menu. And I always say this, if it doesn't have a gluten-free menu at that restaurant, if they don't, you probably shouldn't be eating there. Okay? And if you do, you want to have people cook it a certain way. You don't want to be that difficult customer, but say, I like my food a certain way. You want to cook it like this. No, none of this on it, none stuff. Because they do put certain foods on there to make you come back. Certain spices and stuff. I do believe that. Certain things. Foods you need to eat. The thing you want to eat is you want to eat a ton of vegetables. And guess what? If you're on any kind of diet, you can eat as many vegetables you want. You can eat as many vegetables you want. There's no limit. You can't eat like 2 a day. You need to go for 6, 7. And you know how hard, that is really kind of hard, bro. So you're talking about eating 2 vegetables every time you eat to get 6 or 7. And that's a lot of you think about it, reality. Some of you do, some of you don't. And then that's one of the things you got to look at. And that's the thing I want to say about with vegetarians. I know a lot of fat vegetarians. Because one of the things they do is that they go fill themselves up with carbs instead of eating those different things. I know vegetarians that are diabetic. I was like, dude, you better off eating meat. Yeah. They get to that point, right? So you got fruit. Now, this is where you got to be careful. This is where you have to limit your fruit. You can't go haywire on fruit because that can spike your blood sugar. 2 to 3 servings of fruit a day, I recommend. Now, fruit is a better alternative than a candy bar. So if you eat 4 or 5, I'd rather eat 4 or 5 pieces of fruit than eat some junk, okay? And then we got healthy fats, high-fat fruits. These are things like avocados and with the healthy fats, coconut oils. That's with the healthy fat fruits. Fatty fish, swordfish, mackerel, salmon. I mean, it can go on. And by the way, swordfish with some blackened pepper on the grill, oh, you feel like you're eating a steak. It's real. It's real. It's good. Nuts. You want to limit your serving of nuts too. Too many nuts, they can actually cause a spike in the blood, in the cholesterol. Sulfur-rich foods. Sulfur-rich food. What's a sulfur-rich food? What's a food that's high in sulfur? Mushrooms. Another one. What's a common one that we probably have in our house? Everybody probably has in the house. Garlic. Garlic is great for vampires, bad people. It's bad for infections, but it's also very good for your body. Very good for your body. Peppers, chocolate, spices, tea, red wine. That's with the Mediterranean diet. So if you do consume alcohol, let it be red wine instead of a white wine. It's higher in antioxidants that help with the free radicals, that compound the free radicals that help slow down the aging process. And bone broth, this is a huge one. Now, if you cook a chicken or you got some beef left over or something like that, take and pull all the meat off, put some onions and some seasoning in there, and boil those bones down to a soup, a juice. That is probably one of the highest forms of glucosamine chondroitin to help you with your joints than anything. One of the best things it has in it too is L-glutamine, which helps to heal the lining of the gut. Okay? And those are different things right here. We do it quite often, and we put it in little mason jars with a cap on it. Take the cap off, put it in the microwave, warm it up a little bit, and it's almost like you're drinking a soup. But it's very nutritious for your body. The next thing we got right here. So tying this all together before we wrap this up. Number 1, chiropractic adjustments. They help reduce inflammation. They fix and restore function back to those dysfunctional joints. And a lot of you came in here and you had different kinds of pain. Little did you know it's from a dysfunctional joint. The next thing we got right here is anti-inflammatory foods and supplements. There's certain supplements that can speed up the process with that. And those are different things that I recommend. I'm not a big fan of you being on supplements for the rest of your life. But if you're trying to get out of a crisis, it's a better alternative than taking a medication if you can. Or if you have to take a medication in conjunction with it, we have to look at those things and make sure they line up. Regular exercise. Come on, y'all all walked in here, you drove. I would say 4 or 5 times a week you need to be doing something. And not walking in the house. You need to get on a treadmill, get in the pool. Some of us pay for memberships that we don't use. Go use that stuff. If not, come pay us and come work out in here. We'd be happy to take you. But regular exercise, it's one of the things that it will change your moods. You'll feel better about yourself. You'll feel better about your body because you know your body's functioning way. The body was designed to move, and when we don't move, we actually start breaking down and we lose it. And those are one of the important things. Now, last is you got to sleep and rest. No problem, right? No. So we live in this thing right here where we don't think we can sleep. Whoever said that you can't, you're going to be sick. So I always say if you don't take the time to rest, God is going to put you in a position where you're forced to. And that's one of the things that I had to learn personally with myself. I'm a type A personality. I'm on a go. And then you started showing signs of where you're not there. So you try to aim for 7 to 9 hours of sleep a day. And if you're tired, guess what you need? Guess what you do not need if you're tired? Coffee. If you're tired, you do not need a cup of coffee or energy drink. That's the worst thing you could do. Because then you're going to start tapping into your adrenals, and then you'll get adrenal fatigue. And if you do that so long, your body's going to crash. Your immune system is going to drop, and that's when you start getting sick. You have to sleep. And if you have problems sleeping, that means some other issues that we need to look at, whether it's hormonal, whether it's different kinds of inflammation, different things that can be keeping you from going to sleep. Whether it could be stress management and other things. So 1 second, we'll keep going. Now, one of the rewards of these different things right here is improving the symptoms is that you're going to see less pain, arthritis, IBS, lupus, other autoimmune diseases, decreased obesity, heart disease, diabetes, depression, cancer. Depression is in there. When you follow these different things right here, and they got these things, they got a new disease called type 3 diabetes. What is that? You never heard of that? Type 3 diabetes is Alzheimer's. And what happens is when you got high levels of insulin floating around in the blood, they have nowhere to go. They're going to start attacking the brain. And they're going to start causing plaques. And that starts with brain fogs and different things right here. First thing they do with certain people that have autism and stuff like that to reduce the inflammation on the brain is they take them off gluten and all these other things. They actually help them to function better. Same thing when you start dealing with people that are cancer progress. When you go to these Western protocols, like the Gerson method and all these different things, they're going to do different things to reduce these things, actually reduce the inflammation throughout their bloodstream, because that all goes to, and that can lead to cancer. Reduction in inflammatory markers, that's like your cytokines. Those are your interleukin 6, interleukin 15, all these different things that we can test in the bloodstream. And then better blood sugar levels, improve energy and mood and memory. Also, what's the difference between these right here as we wrap it up? What's the difference between these two clocks? They both tell time. See, this one right here, the problem that I have about this, and this is what we use as a standard, is this, we think we have more time. Literally, we live like this. And I want to let you know that as you sit right now, be careful of how you use your time and your money. Like, you need to put it into yourself. Like, this is real deal. So we think, oh, I'll get up, I got another 24 hours, I got another 24 hours. Your time is going to run out. That's one thing, everything's going to happen to all of us. And so one of the messages that I will say is this: don't wait till you meet God for him to tell you the man or woman that you could have been.